Super. All right, everyone. Yeah, as Heather mentioned, today we're going to do we're going to work on how you can sort of update your categories to match kind of where you are in your life. Um, this workflow has always really been possible kind of with a find and replace, but the category information is in multiple sheets, and so we've added a tool into Tiller Money Labs that basically makes this more automated and preserves data integrity. So why would you want to rename a category? I think there's a couple reasons that are really common. One is that you really refine kind of how you want to track things. You want maybe less detail. Maybe you made five categories around travel or how you track your car, and you really find that it's just simpler to just consolidate it into one. Or you just don't like the name of a category anymore. So let's just look real quick where category information lives. Here's my category sheet. One of the ones we're going to look at today is this yoga category. You can see that it's here in the category sheet. You can see here I've got one in blue here. We'll talk about why it's Pilates in a second here. And then in AutoCAD, you might have rules built around your categories. And then also, if you're using the savings budget, which is relatively new, it's kind of like an envelope budgeting version of the of our monthly budget. You might have a budget journal sheet that might also have records for adjustments you've made to your budget. So this tool will also address that. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we used to go to the yoga studio. You can see all these like yoga transactions in blue somewhere down here. But we've learned that Pilates keeps us healthier. And so we're now going to the Pilates studio, and right now we don't really have a category to put that in, so we've been categorizing the last few months in as yoga. And again, as I showed you just now, like this exists in this sheet, in the category sheet. We also have adjustments here. We have an AutoCAD rule built around this that looks for the word studio. And so we're going to go and we're going to rename this something that can accommodate the idea of Pilates. So we're going to go in the tool, and sorry, this is Tiller Money Labs here on the sidebar. We're going to go into the tools menu. And in the tools menu, come on, tools menu, there you go. Rename category. We're going to click on rename category here. And this is really kind of a two-in-one. We're going to talk in a minute about the merge categories concept. But for now, we're just going to rename the category yoga down here. This is very simple. We just put in a new category. You could put Pilates, but then you might end up changing it when you move on to some other thing, which I can't think of right now. So
Jujitsu.
Which one?
Jujitsu.
Okay, yeah, right. So we don't want to keep on changing it. So we're going to, even though it would be easy with this tool, so we're going to move on to fitness here. So I'm going to go into the category sheet, and you can watch this update. So I'm going to click rename category. It's going to ask me, this will update all transactions and budgets related to the yoga category. You should want to proceed. Yes. And you'll see it update here to fitness. But then also, of course, if we look over here now, this is fitness here, and all these older transactions, wherever they are here now, the yoga studio are fitness. And then also in our AutoCAD sheet now, if we see the word studio in our description category, that will be fitness. And once again, if you're using the savings budget, not only is it fitness here, but also all of your budget journal entries where you've adjusted budgets have been changed to fitness. And you can see there's even a little note here that tells you that the category yoga was renamed to fitness, and it shows you the date. So you've got a record of that. Anyway, that's the first half of this demonstration, the rename category workflow. Next, I'm going to show you the merge category workflow. What merge category does is it allows you to take a category and just roll all of its data into another kind of overarching category. And I think one thing that our family sometimes does is we will budget for specific trips within a year. So you can see here we've got a budget for a trip to Mazatlan that we're going to do in March and April. Then we're going to go to the Grand Canyon later in the year. And then here we can kind of, as expenses roll in, plane fare or airfare, hotel reservations, we can just start to bucket those into the trip, and we can see if the whole trip stayed on budget. But the problem with this approach is just that at the end of the year, we don't want 10 years of history with 3 or 4 trips each year, it just becomes too much data. And so we don't want to lose the travel expense, but we do want to lose the granularity when we come to the end of year. So obviously we're only in November right now. It's kind of premature to do this, but let's just say now that we've gotten to the end of the year, and I want to basically take these trips and just roll them into the travel category for kind of archival purposes. And again, just lose the granular detail. So let's look at some of the places where this data exists. So obviously in our budget, we've got these budget line items. And I just want to show you this because you're going to see this. This will be subtle in a second. But right now my travel budget is kind of minimal here. I've got just $50. What you're going to see when these categories merge is the budget's going to merge too. So this budget will end up in these cells. In the transactions here, that trip was, I think, in March. So we've got here one Mazatlan here, and another one I think somewhere further down. Here's the airfare, and then we have an AutoCat rule right now that's categorizing everything that has the word Mazatlan into this category, and then also, as before, we have in our budget journal, we have some entries there related to this. So to start this process, we are going to go into rename category again. But this time we're going to select the merge category workflow. We're going to find Mazatlan, and we're going to merge this into the travel category. And once again, you can watch kind of as this works. For this budget to move into here, you'll see this row disappear. So let's just select these ones here. All right, so merge categories. It's going to ask us to confirm, and this is a little bit more destructive. The other workflow just was a rename. Here we're actually losing kind of this granular detail. We can't undo this change in the same way as just renaming the category back to what it was before. So I'm going to press yes, and again, watch right here. You'll see the budget roll in there. You can see that Mazatlan is no longer down here, and if I go to my transaction sheet, these two transactions here are now just travel. Also on our savings budget, where we used to have several vacations, ignore the fact that the New York City trip is not on here right now. That budget was now moved into this travel category, and you can see in the budget journal now, this one that used to be Mazatlan is now just travel. So that those adjustments are here still. And so you can imagine, I was going to do this more times, but you can imagine now that I could go through and roll these other trips also into this travel. The one other thing I want to show you real quick is there is a limitation with the merge categories, is to kind of keep the integrity of the budgets. You can only merge expense categories into expense categories. I cannot merge like an expense category into, like, say, an income category. So if I go here and select like New York City 2020, you can see that this paycheck category over here is not available. If I go into another income category like reimbursements here, the only option is the other income category, paycheck. But basically, it kind of makes a mess if the workflow were to allow you to merge an expense budget into a income budget. So if you run into that and you're not seeing the options you expect, that's the reason. Heather, did I miss anything?
No, I think that was great. I was actually just reflecting on the fact that I haven't used this yet, so I was also learning how to use it. So even if you were missing anything, I probably wouldn't know.
We've had this in the add-on for I guess about a month. Actually, you can see there's a little tiny story here, but one of our users, Aranos, posted a number of suggestions around bug fixes, and then kind of it originally started as a merge category workflow, but then it became obvious that there were just a few small changes to make it work as a rename category workflow. So we added that again about a month ago.
And Randy, do we have a doc just for that workflow? I was trying to find that in the community,
I think, Heather, as you know, periodically we do these Tiller Money Labs roundups where we talk about changes and sort of new templates that we release and new workflows. this rename showed up in here, and I'm not actually. It never actually went into like a wiki type doc. It's
That's what,
possible
yeah.
that the merge category is also in a roundup. Um, Maybe this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're both kind of buried in these Tiller Money Labs roundup. Maybe we should go and actually put them as documented workflows. But this one
Cool.
you can see was added about a month prior to the rename workflow.
Pilates might be better fitness, but it's too intense for me. There's too much of a core workout involved. I get my core workout from rock climbing. I don't want to like really push myself in a studio to do core work.
Yeah, if you have any suggestions for what Heather and I should do fitness wise, you can put those into the chat as well. There's some
um,
new trend we're missing out on.
feel free to get some questions in the Q&A. It looks like there's nothing in there so far. So get your questions over there. Randy, why is that New York City category missing from the budget? Is it hidden? I noticed that, and you're like, just ignore this for now.
That is a good question. I think the reason.
Maybe because there was no budget for it in that month. What month are we looking at
I
here?
think that the way that this works is that if there's no budget or actuals or maybe even a balance, I'm not I mean I wrote the script for this and I'm just trying to remember how it works exactly. So let's see here. So if we go to categories and we look at what month the trip actually was, September, October. So let's look in those months and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So if you go into October, you can see the budget and the actuals. And then if you go into September, I think the reason is, I think what it shows is, I think it shows if there's a budget, if there's actuals, or there's a savings, a sort of a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I did in this one here is I think it's actually in this right here. You can see I made an adjustment that I think zeroed out the balance. So if we look at the October month, you'll see that there was a transfer. Again, the transfer is here. There's a $105 change, and that basically netted this to zero. And then I think if you go to subsequent months, because the balance going forward is zero, there's no new budget, there's no new actuals, and the balance is zero. I think that's why it's not showing. I think my guess is if we didn't net the balance to exactly zero, let's just say there were $1 in there. So now this should go to. Oh my gosh, why is nothing working the way it's supposed to today?
It's okay. I just was curious. I think on the category sheet too, if you just had zeros for the budgets for that, it would show up, right? It just ignores it if it's blank. Is that right? That was my understanding.
That's right. Let me just try one last thing here real quick, Heather. So let's put $1 in here by using this workflow. And I think it'll show up in the subsequent month if there's a balance. So you go to savings budget. And then you can see here I'm making a budget adjustment. I'm adding $1. It's here. Now I'm going to write this into the budget journal. So you can see here, there's the dollar. So now my balance is here is 1. So I think now if I go into November, since there's a balance, it'll show. Yeah, so I think it's basically if there's nothing to see, no balance, no actuals, no savings balance, basically it's not going to show.
Got it. Okay, looks like we had a couple questions come through over the chat. Doug asks, the newsletter page, I think he's talking about the roundup. Where is that?
Yeah, so if you go into, there's a few ways to find it. One is just to search on Roundup. Another is we have a tag usually that we use for these. So this kind of Labs Roundup tag. Or you can go to News Announcements. And actually another thing, this actually might be a fun demo, and I haven't tried this before, so I'm not 100% sure it'll work. But I think this new search that we've added, I don't know, in the last 3-4 weeks, should find the articles in the community. So I'm going to type merge into here, and this is right in the add-on. I'm going to hit return, and you can see it's going to find two types of things. It'll find workflows and templates that are right in the add-on, and those are up here, and then it'll also find articles in the community. So Here, here it found this Tiller Labs Roundup, and by clicking on this, it'll jump over and open it here. The same is true for if you were to change this into rename, it should be in there as well. So there's that. So yeah, that's probably the easiest ways to get it right out of the add-on.
And the biggest picture there is that all of that is in the community. If you haven't been in the community or explored the community yet, it's just community.tillerhq.com.
Yeah, the news and announcements is usually where the roundups go. And Heather, do you know an easy way to get to, oh, here, tags. So you could click on news and announcements, get tags, and then go to Labs Roundup. And again, all the kind of, usually monthly updates we do there are posted here, and you'll just see them all.
Cool. Thanks, Randy. Mm-hmm. All right. And Doug also asks, what is the best practice as we move into 2021? Do we start a new sheet or continue with what we have?
Heather, maybe you should take that.
Sure. So the foundation template by default is a 12-month budget. And so if you go into the category sheet, Randy, you can show them how you get 12 months starting in column E over into column Q. And so as far as best practice goes, the sheet can handle multiple years of data. It can handle multiple years of budgets. And we have great resources on the Help Center about how to set your foundation template up for multi-year budgeting. You essentially just add an additional 12 columns, and then you just pull the formulas over from that top row to continue populating into 2021. So it can support multiple years of budgeting. As far as whether or not you do that, that's really up to you and your preference. Do you want to see all of the historical data from 2020 alongside your data for 2021 as it accumulates, or would you rather just start with, a fresh sheet? And so if you want to just start in a fresh sheet, you can easily do that. And if you want to just kind of make an archive of your 2020 data, generally we just recommend making a copy of your Google Sheet. And then that would be your 2020 sheet. And it's not linked or feeding or anything. It's just kind of an archive. And then you can, just clear out the 2020 data as 2021 starts, overwrite the start month for your budget, 12-month budget to be January 1, 2021, and then refine your budgets from there. So really just depends on your preferences. And we do have some good resources on the Help Center for kind of helping you navigate whatever decision that you make there. So any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts you want to add, Randy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like to have all my stuff, the whole history in one place. And as Heather mentioned, the sheets can support it. So I would personally just go and extend the budgets. Would it help if we did that real quick, Heather, to show just how that works?
Sure. Yeah.
So here, if I were going to add space for a 2021 budget, if you select just one column and you right click, it adds one column. But if you go and if you do two, it kind of insert two to the right. So probably the easiest way to do this is just to select all the way from January to December, and then right click up here and it'll insert 12 columns to the right. And then here, if you look at these formulas, this formula here looks at the cell before it, and basically adds a month. So you can basically just drag this in here, and you'll see it'll make the next month. And then if I just drag this all the way down, I'm going to get the whole year. And then the last step here is just probably you've noticed that the budgets are kind of set up so that you could put a budget in the first column, and then it uses this kind of equals formula to always get it from the one to the left. So here you can basically just take this column, which is pulling from November, select the whole column, and then just slide this over. I don't know why it's not dragging. Come on, go. I can't. I'm gonna basically copy this and just shift select and then paste it all. So use the keyboard to do the same thing. And that'll basically pre-populate your 2021 budget every month with whatever was in December. Anything to add to that, Heather?
No, I think that's great. And you can even hide 2020 columns if you don't want to see them. They're still in there. That way you can just kind of really focus on 2021. And we have all those steps documented on the Help Center. So if you didn't follow along with all that, you can review the step-by-step. I may have a demo video on there. I did last year do a webinar for starting the new year, starting fresh sheets, which I think would still totally apply to all this. So can resurrect that too. So good question though. All right, Kenneth asks, there are really two useful functions. These are really two useful functions. I just found out I had expanded a category name earlier this year, and as a result, the old name was listed in the transaction sheet, but the data wasn't showing up in some reports. So I had to manually fix the category. For me, in this case, it was only a few entries. I like the ability to collapse categories for historical purposes. Yeah, that's definitely really useful workflows. People have been asking for how to do the rename thing in an automated way for a long time, because previously you did have to do some filtering and sorting, and it wasn't too bad, but it could be prone to errors. So
Can you mention that you like to start on your gift planning early? If you want to, you can go into add a solution here. Oops, I think I clicked it twice. And then holiday gift planner, add to spreadsheet. And if you have any questions about this, you can ask them in the community if you want to get started early. But this is kind of what that sheet looks like. Most of our solutions link to a support page, so you can go here and you can see there's actually support documentation in the community. And then another feature in the Tiller Money Labs, here actually John Orlin developed this, and you can see the documentation. And then one other thing I want to show you is just that if you want to learn about any of the solutions, you can always activate the sheet in the spreadsheet and click About Solution. And this sidebar will kind of tell you what you need to know. It'll link you to support documentation. You just saw that link. You could also ask a question here, and it'll kind of set up the prompts to put it right into the appropriate thread here. You can see this is tagged, and it's kind of got a starter here. Yeah. Oh, and sorry, if you click over to another solution, this after a few seconds, this will kind of update to whatever you've selected.
It's one of my favorite features of that add-on.
Underutilized though.
It is, I know. I love how integrated it is with all the community docs and helping people get their topics in the right place and the version management. I mean, it's really like so much better than how we used to do our template version management and delivery and all that. So really thankful for all your hard work on that, Randy.
There's a little bug in here right now. Usually it actually shows community conversation. So usually under, I think actually above ask a question right in this space, it'll show what people are saying, like the most recent conversations in the community. Well, we should have a fix to that bug out in a few days, but just something got mixed up in the code.
Cool. Well, thanks, Randy. I think that's all the questions that we had. So unless looks like there's one thing. John says, back to Doug's question, if I didn't add columns for 2021 and just wanted to set up a new sheet, should I do that in another copy of the template or set up a new tab in my existing template file? This may be a lame question. I'm new to Tiller. Definitely not a lame question at all. If you don't want to do the columns for 2021 in the existing sheet, you can absolutely start a brand new sheet from the console with the foundation template and just link the data to it and just start fresh for 2021. That's one way you can do it. You can just start your budget year for 2021 right in the existing sheet. So Randy, if you unhide the original columns that are there in the category sheet, if you don't really care to keep your 2020 budget history, you can just change your budget start month from January 2020 to January 2021 when 2021 starts, and then modify your budgets for the year as needed. And as Randy kind of demoed, as you're setting up budget amounts in column E or column F there in Randy's case, because he's got extra columns, they're going to cascade across to the right. It just helps you quickly set the budget for a year. So it really just depends on your preference and whether you want to just start fresh or whether you want to just overwrite your category, your budgets in your category sheet. But just keep in mind that, when you change the start month, it doesn't have to be January. It can be any month. it's not going to move your budget amounts around. Those are static. So just keep that in mind. If you change it, the budget amounts are not going to move around with it. So that's really a good thing to do first. So hopefully that helps. And John, if that doesn't help, definitely reach out and support, and we can help you with that. That's all the foundation template workflows are supported by our team over chat. It's just the labs stuff is supported in the community. And so this being a very core product question, like we're happy to help in chat. All right. And then Ken asks, sometimes I don't receive a daily email. Any reason for Tiller not sending out a daily email? So Ken, you should notice that those daily emails are more reliable now. We had an issue over the last week or so with the daily emails not sending, but we pushed a fix for that last Thursday. So if you're still not receiving the daily emails, please write into chat and let us know. But we believe we've addressed that issue. So you should continue to see those reliably coming across. So, all right, looks like that was everything. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and thanks for running that demo, Randy. And we hope to see you at the gift planner one.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See y'all.